For years, people have told you the same thing. You need more discipline, more motivation, more self-control. If you're not productive enough, it's because you're lazy. That's the story we've been taught to believe, and most people believe it. They feel guilty for not getting things done. They blame themselves for losing focus. They assume there's something fundamentally wrong with them. But what if that story is completely wrong? What if the real problem isn't laziness at all? What if the reason you struggle to focus, to work deeply, or even to start important things is something else entirely? Something that has nothing to do with your character, nothing to do with how much you care. Because here's what's actually happening. Your brain is overwhelmed, not by effort, but by exposure. The average person today experiences more information in a single day than people centuries ago experienced in an entire lifetime. Notifications pulling your attention every few minutes, news designed to keep you anxious, social media feeds that never end, short videos engineered to make you watch just one more. Every moment of silence replaced instantly by another stimulus. And slowly, without realizing it, something inside your brain begins to change. Not dramatically, not all at once, quietly, in ways almost impossible to notice until the damage is already done. You sit down to work, and within minutes you feel the pull, an urge to check something, your phone, your email, a quick video. You open one tab, then another, and suddenly an hour has passed, and you haven't done a single thing that mattered. Not because you chose to waste time, but because your attention was pulled away again and again by forces you didn't fully notice. And eventually you arrive at a conclusion about yourself. Maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe other people are simply better at this than I am. But here is the uncomfortable truth no one is telling you. The modern world is not designed for your focus. It is designed to capture it. Your attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the global economy. Every major platform you use was built around a single goal: keep you engaged for as long as possible. These companies hire teams of engineers, psychologists, and behavioral scientists. Their job is to study one thing: how to keep your brain coming back. Every notification is deliberate. Every recommendation is calculated. Every infinite scroll was designed by people who understood neuroscience better than most doctors. None of it is accidental. All of it engineered to trigger tiny bursts of dopamine inside your brain. Dopamine is the chemical associated with anticipation and reward, the same system that helped our ancestors survive for hundreds of thousands of years. When early humans found food or safety, dopamine fired. It reinforced the behavior. It was a survival mechanism built for a very different world. A world where rewards were rare, a world where focus was required for survival. But today, that same ancient system is being hijacked thousands of times a day. Every like, every notification, every new video, each one trains your brain to expect a faster, easier reward. And as that happens, something critical shifts. Normal activities, reading, writing, thinking, building, begin to feel slower, harder, more uncomfortable. Not because those activities changed, but because your brain did. Your mind keeps searching for the faster hit, the easier reward. And procrastination appears, not as laziness, but as your brain chasing the quickest stimulation available. Scrolling is easier than thinking. Watching is easier than building. So the brain follows the path of least resistance every single time. Not because you're weak,
but because your environment is constantly training your brain to expect instant reward. And at the end of every day, you feel busy, exhausted even, but like nothing real was accomplished. And that feeling slowly becomes a belief that you're lazy, that something is wrong with you. But the truth is something completely different. Your brain has simply been overexposed to information, overexposed to stimulation, overexposed to a world that was never designed to let it rest. For most of human history, the world was quiet. Information traveled slowly. Distractions were rare. When someone needed to focus, the environment supported that focus. No notifications, no algorithms quietly pulling them away from what mattered. The human brain evolved in that world, built for depth, not speed, designed for sustained attention, not constant switching. It thrives in environments of meaning and focus, not in environments of endless noise. And that's exactly why so many people are struggling today. Not because they're broken, but because they're using a brain designed for one world in a world that looks completely different. Here's what most people don't realize. Your brain can recover. Focus is not something you permanently lose. It's something that gets buried beneath layers of stimulation. But when those layers begin to lift, something remarkable happens. Your mind slowly becomes quieter. Tasks that once felt unbearable become manageable again. Ideas begin to form more clearly. The restless urge to constantly check something begins to fade. Not immediately, not overnight, but gradually. Because the brain begins adjusting its expectations again. The baseline slowly resets. Silence becomes tolerable, then comfortable, and eventually something you seek out. This is why the most effective people in the world guard their attention so fiercely. They turn off notifications. They protect the first hours of their day. They create space for deep, uninterrupted focus. Not because they're more disciplined than everyone else, but because they understand one fundamental truth. Attention is a limited resource, and whatever controls your attention controls your life. When attention is constantly pulled outward, life becomes purely reactive. You respond to whatever appears in front of you. You never choose, you just react. But when attention becomes intentional, everything changes. You start choosing what deserves your focus. You stop being moved by the current of distraction. And slowly, the sense of control begins to return. This isn't about deleting every app. It's not about some extreme transformation. It's about becoming aware. Aware of how your attention is being spent. Aware that the way you feel, scattered, unfocused, lazy, is not a character flaw. It's a response, a predictable human response to an environment designed to overwhelm you. And that awareness is where everything begins to shift. Small choices start to matter. Protecting the first hour of your morning, creating windows of uninterrupted focus, letting yourself be bored for a few minutes instead of reaching for stimulation. Each one is a signal to your brain, a signal that says, we're changing the baseline. We're choosing depth over distraction. And over time, the brain responds, because that's what brains do. They adapt to their environment. They always have. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, I'm just lazy, I can't focus, pause and ask a different question. How much stimulation is my brain exposed to every single day? And what small thing could I do today to start taking my attention back? Because the problem was never laziness, it was overexposure. And overexposure can be reversed. The moment you begin protecting your attention, the fog starts to lift. The work that once felt impossible starts to feel possible again. Your focus was never broken. It was simply buried beneath a world that never stops competing for it. And the moment you begin reclaiming it, you might discover something that surprises you, that your mind is capable of far more than you were ever told to believe, waiting quietly beneath the noise, ready, the moment you gave it space, to return.